I cheated on my husband, then he made me regret it without saying a word. I never thought I would be that woman. The one who strayed. The one who destroyed her own home with one selfish decision. But here I am. My name is Layla. I'm 33 years old, married to Tom 36, and we have 2 kids, Ava 9 and Eli 6. Tom and I have been together for 11 years. 11 years of shared dreams, family holidays, diaper changes and Sunday pancakes. I thought we were happy. Or at least content. But somewhere along the way I started to feel invisible. Tom is a good man. I want to say that clearly before I go any further. He's kind. Predictable. He works in finance, comes home late sometimes but never misses a parent-teacher conference. He doesn't drink much, doesn't gamble, never yelled at me, not once. He remembers birthdays. He always loads the dishwasher the wrong way, but he tries. He really does. And yet, I began to vanish in the shadow of our routine. I was still Layla. But no longer the Layla who wore red lipstick just because. No longer the woman who used to dance barefoot in the living room after one glass of wine. Somewhere I became a walking checklist. Pack the lunches. Fold the laundry. Pick up the dry cleaning. Schedule the dentist. Smile at PTA. It wasn't his fault. But it was still my truth. Then came Adam. Adam was everything Tom wasn't, on the surface. He worked at the design agency we partnered with. I met him during a Zoom call where we argued over a font choice and he laughed when I got flustered. He had a messy desk, wore leather bracelets and called me fiery. First I ignored him. I rolled my eyes at his little compliments. But then he remembered how I take my coffee. Then he started sending memes in the middle of the day. And eventually late night texts. Still up? Can't sleep. This presentation is killing me. But your edits were brilliant as always. What would you do if no one was watching? It started with drinks after work. Innocent enough. Laughing about how ridiculous our boss was. Sharing playlists. Venting. Then one night I didn't go home. I stared at my reflection in his bathroom mirror. Lipstick smudged. Guilt clinging to my chest like a second skin. I told myself it was a mistake. But then I made the same mistake again. And again. Each time I told myself I would end it. That it didn't mean anything. That I was just lost. But the truth? I felt alive. I felt beautiful again. I felt wanted. I'd come home to Tom and the kids and act like everything was normal. Work dinner, I'd say, ruffling Eli's hair. Design meeting ran late, I'd whisper while kissing Tom's cheek. I lived 2 lives for 6 weeks. Then one evening I came home and found Tom in the kitchen, apron tied clumsily around his waist, stirring a pot. You cooked? I asked, genuinely surprised. He grinned. Your favorite. Chicken marsala. Thought you could use a break. The kids were setting the table, giggling over something on Ava's tablet. The kitchen smelled like home. Warm. Safe. His love language. And just like that the air changed. I looked at Tom, really looked. The soft lines near his eyes, the way he hummed while checking the sauce, the worn college t-shirt he always wore when he was relaxed. And I felt something snap inside me. Not regret. Not yet. Just guilt. Suffocating, overwhelming guilt. That night I couldn't sleep. I watched Tom beside me, snoring softly, his arms stretched toward the middle of the bed, right over Eli's favorite blue blanket. He must have folded it and laid it there after the kids fell asleep. I lay in bed wide-eyed, my chest tightening with every breath. In the darkness I whispered to the ceiling, what have I done? The next morning Tom made coffee while I sat at the table numb. My phone buzzed. It was Adam. Can't stop thinking about last night. You looked incredible. I stared at the screen like it was poison. Tom was pouring juice into 2 little glasses for the kids, whistling off-key. Everything okay? He asked, glancing at my expression. I swallowed. Yeah. Just work. Another lie. One of hundreds now. Later that night I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, staring at myself. I touched my cheek. I looked tired. Hollow. I walked back into the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. Tom. He looked up from his book. Yeah. We need to talk. Something in his expression shifted. His smile fell and he slowly closed the book. What's going on? My hands were shaking. I did something. Something terrible. Silence. He sat up straighter. Hey. What is it? I took a breath. I've been seeing someone else. I cheated on you. The silence that followed was the longest I've ever endured. A stillness that stretched and cracked. His face didn't move for several seconds. He just blinked like he was trying to process the words. When, he finally asked. His voice was cold, detached, like a stranger's. For the last 6 weeks. I expected yelling. I expected him to throw something. Demand names. Rage. But all he did was stand up. Fully. Walk out of the room. I sat there in the quiet, the kind that makes your ears ring. I heard the door to the garage open and close. He didn't come back that night. The next morning he was sitting at the kitchen table when I came downstairs. Dressed. Coffee in hand. Bags under his eyes. Ava was eating cereal. Eli was humming to himself, building Legos on the floor. Tom looked at me then looked away. Can we talk? I whispered. Later, he said. Not in front of them. And then we played house. Like nothing was wrong. He just said, I'll drop off the kids today. Don't forget Eli has that art show thing. And then he left. I stood in the hallway after he shut the door, still in my robe, still in shock. The silence in the house felt different now. Heavier. Not just empty but cold. The kids didn't know. They were still laughing, still playing tag in the hallway after breakfast, still asking if we could get ice cream after school. They didn't notice how I winced when Tom didn't hug me goodbye. Or how he wouldn't meet my eyes. But I did. Every second of it. That night after the art show we came home in 2 separate cars. Tom had stayed for the kids, smiled for pictures, even helped clean up when Eli spilled juice on his poster board. But it wasn't him behind the smile. It was someone else. Someone pretending. At home I put Eli to bed while Tom helped Ava with her math homework. We moved through the house like co-workers, efficient and silent. Like we were managing a project. Our children. When the kids were asleep I tried to sit next to him on the couch. He got up and walked to the other side of the room. Tom, I said, voice trembling, please talk to me. He turned slowly, his arms crossed. His eyes were cold, too cold. Talk to you? About what? Your affair. My breath caught. I deserved that. No. About yes. About what happens now. He laughed. Bitter. Short. What happens now? That's rich. Now you want to talk? Now suddenly my opinion matters. I messed up. I know that. But I still love you. He stepped closer, his voice low, dangerous. You don't get to say that right now. You don't get to cry and play the victim. I'm not. Oh, but you are, he snapped. You're good at it. Poor invisible Layla, stuck in a boring marriage with a man who folds laundry and makes chicken marsala. You wanted fireworks, Layla? You got them. I covered my mouth trying to hold back the sob. Why didn't you just leave? He said, quieter now. You could have walked away. Filed for divorce. But instead you stayed in my bed and lied to my face. Every day. While I was out there thinking we were okay. I didn't want to leave you, I said. I stopped myself. He narrowed his eyes. What? What did you want? To feel wanted, I whispered. He stared at me for a long time. Then turned around and walked upstairs without another word. For days he barely spoke to me unless it was about the kids. No touches. No looks. Nothing. It was like he'd shut a door inside himself and locked me out. But he didn't leave. He was still here. Eating at the table. Folding laundry. Driving Ava to ballet. Sleeping in the same bed, though always turned away. That made it worse somehow. I asked him one night while brushing my teeth, are you going to leave me? He stared at the mirror. No. That's all he said. But why? I asked. For them. The words hit like a punch. Not for me. For them. Every time I tried to apologize he cut me off. Every time I offered to go to counseling he said, we'll see. Then he changed. Subtly at first. One morning I came down to see him already dressed and leaving for work early, something he never did. He said he had a meeting. That night he came home late. No explanation. No apology. I asked, where were you? Out. Out where? He just shrugged. You don't get to ask that anymore. I stared at him stunned. Then he added, didn't think you cared. And walked away. Was he doing this to punish me? To scare me? Or was it something more? One night after putting the kids to sleep I waited by the door. He came in past 11:30. Shirt slightly wrinkled. He smelled faintly of perfume that wasn't mine. He looked at me, no guilt in his eyes. You're late, I said. He raised an eyebrow. So. Where were you? He dropped his keys in the bowl. With a client. I stepped closer. Are you seeing someone? He laughed softly. Would it matter? My throat went dry. Yes. It would. He turned to face me, voice cool and sharp. Now you know how it feels. I reached for him but he stepped back. You don't get to touch me right now, he said. You made your choices. I'm trying, I whispered. I'm here. I'm still here. He shook his head. You weren't here when I needed you. When I came home exhausted and still rubbed your feet. When I stayed up late building Eli's bike. When I brought you flowers and you didn't even look up from your phone. His voice cracked. Just a little. I was loving you through the quiet. And you went looking for noise. I broke then. Fell to my knees. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But he just stood there looking down at me and said the words that tore something deep inside me. You don't get to be sorry. Not yet. That night I cried myself to sleep alone in the bed we used to share. I could still feel him beside me, but it was just memory now. The next morning Tom acted normal. Made pancakes. Helped Eli with his shoes. Asked Ava about her book report. And I realized, this was how he would punish me. Not with screaming. Not with revenge. But with distance. With the slow erosion of everything I'd taken for granted. One evening while folding laundry together I reached over and brushed his hand. He pulled away. You're not ready for me to forgive you, he said. I swallowed. Will you ever be? He didn't answer. Weeks passed. We functioned like a well-oiled machine. Kids, food, work, dinners, bedtime routines. But at night I would lie awake watching him breathe. Wondering if the man beside me still loved me, or if I had killed that love completely. After weeks of cold routines and broken silences something changed. Not with me, but with Tom. One afternoon I was folding towels in the laundry room when he walked in. The kids were at a friend's house. The house itself felt like a pause, uncertain, suspended. He held a sheet of paper in his hand. My hand stilled. I'm going to a lawyer today, he said quietly. My heart dropped as if I'd plunged into an icy lake. He looked at me with exhaustion and something I almost couldn't bear, resolve. And I'm not signing anything yet. Just like that he turned and walked away. No shouting. No slammed doors. Just, he departed. That night he slept in the guest room for the first time, not because of negotiated space but because he chose it. I lay in our bed alone crying, wishing I could rewind time. The next morning I found him in the kitchen reading papers. Divorce lawyer, huh? He didn't look up. It's not certain, he said, still flipping pages. I'm exploring. We need to make sense of this. For them. I nodded. I barely heard him. I just watched. Days passed. Meetings. Negotiations. Legal language. I realized that for the first time in months our marriage wasn't just suspended, it was dissolving. Then came the meeting. We sat across from a mediator in a small office. Children's books on a side table. A water pitcher between us. He started talking clearer than he had in weeks. I'm trying to give this a chance. Not for us. For the kids. But I can't fake tenderness with you anymore. My throat tightened. I nodded and tears formed. He continued softer. But I can't keep staying for the sameness either. I won't stay in a life without authenticity. It stung. He said he would stay under the same roof if I would commit to real change. Therapy for myself and us. Transparency. No secrets. And, for the first time, he asked me what I wanted. Thought, I want my husband back. I want warmth. I want trust. Instead I whispered, I want to earn it. I don't know how, but I'll try. The air shifted after that session. It wasn't healed. Far from it. But something cracked for both of us. He stopped sleeping in the guest room. Slowly, morning conversations returned. First, just logistics. School runs and groceries. Then one evening after the kids were in bed he found me in the kitchen. Without a word he placed a cup of tea in front of me. That silence between us held more than words ever could. I reached out, hesitant, and touched his hand. It felt warm. Thank you, he said, his voice gravelly. For who knew what, but in that moment I believed it wasn't a lie. Weeks turned into months. We started family therapy. I bared my guilt. I owned my mistakes. He sat in silence more often than not, but sometimes he spoke. About how lonely he felt, how small the betrayal made him feel. He confessed how he'd fantasized about leaving the house late at night with a suitcase and never coming back. I held those moments in me, painful but necessary. I didn't apologize again, I listened. And then he spoke about clients at work, how someone he trusted had lied to him too, and how that mirrored what happened here. He admitted that in that betrayal he felt unworthy. And I realized forgiveness wasn't just about being forgiven. It was about letting someone forgive themselves too. He began to trust me a little at a time. He let me babysit while he ran an errand. He told me something as simple as, "How was your day?" Once he smiled at a joke I made. A real gentle laugh. Felt like walking through fog. Everything dim at first, but slowly, colors returning. One evening after the kids were asleep he knocked on my bedroom door. Got a minute? I sat up. He held out the same letter I tried to hand him months ago. Words I wrote that he never read. If you still want to share this with someone, he said, I'd like to read it now. I opened the letter with shaking hands. To the man I hurt, I'm sorry for being selfish. Not because I'm afraid to lose you, but because I see how much I lost already. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to feel loved again, if you can. He looked at me with those haunted eyes. Then closed the letter, folded it carefully. Thank you, he said. He kissed me on the forehead. A light touch, but everything changed in that brush of skin. Healing isn't linear. There are bad days. Quiet tears. Still nights where he lies awake staring at the ceiling. But it matters. Because I stayed honest when it got scary. I stayed vulnerable when it hurt. I stayed committed when nothing felt certain. And slowly I started to see him again. The man who held me during panic attacks. Who braved heartbreak and kept going. Who once wrote in our wedding vows, through mistakes and triumphs I choose you. He's choosing to keep choosing. At least for now. Months later we planned a simple anniversary dinner. Just us. No kids. No distractions. At the restaurant he reached across the table and laid his hand on mine. He said softly, "You're still the woman I love." My eyes filled with tears. Because it wasn't perfect. But it was something. Something fragile. Something real. Something worth trying. I cheated on my husband. I hurt my family. I shattered what we had built. But part 3 isn't about redemption. It's about the cost of betrayal. And the complexity of choosing to stay when trust has died. He made me regret what I did, not with anger but with absence. With the slow drift of hurt that still takes breath in our house. But he also gave me hope, because to forgive doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to rebuild one careful brick at a time. And that's what we're doing now, slowly, fragilely, but together.